Hello, my name is Kyle, or K.E. Semmel, the translator of Thomas Rydahl's The Hermit. Thank you for allowing me to participate tonight. I have done a number of these videos, and I've never been satisfied with a single one of them, so I'm going to try one more time. I have to admit that when I translate a book, and I believe this is my 11th or 12th at this point, I tend not to think about the act or the art of it while I'm doing it. And so, when a year and a half goes by and I'm asked to do something like this, I have to really think about what it is that I couldn't say. I think this book, I want to first say that had appealed to me from the very beginning. I met Thomas in 2014 at the Copenhagen Book Festival. I met him very briefly, but I had seen his presentation. A journalist asked him a number of questions. There was a lot of people there listening to him. He had just won the debutante prize, and so it was kind of a big deal. I was very taken by his story, the fact that he had been writing on this book for over a decade and had received a number of rejections, but continued to plug away and ultimately, here we are today celebrating this book and Thomas's work. So when I was asked by Juliet if I wanted to translate the book, I, of course, said yes. While translating the book, I did not read ahead, so I did not read it in advance either. I was very determined this time to have a fresh eye on the actual translation, so that when I did the book, every page was something new, and I was going along with the story. And typically, in the past, I'd always read the book first, but in this case, I made a deliberate attempt not to, just to keep it fresh, I guess. So, a couple of things that I deliberated on while translating. One is the use of the dash to set aside dialogue. Thomas uses the dashes in his original, and I debated on that question. I talked to other translators about this, and ultimately decided that I want to keep them with dashes. I personally, so I have this belief that a book will teach you how to read it, and this is a book that does that. And I didn't feel that the dashes were a problem. I know it's not necessarily the standard way in English, but at the same time, I don't like the idea of a standard way. It seems to me that there are multiple ways to do things, and in this case, it felt like it was quite organic to the book, and it needed to stay. So I kept them. In many cases, I had to alternate or change the paragraphs a little bit. So if there were 2 or 3 pieces of dialogue in a given paragraph, I would push, if I felt it was confusing to me, I would push down some of those paragraphs, turn one paragraph into 3, say, and so it gives a little more room and breadth on the page. But that's probably the most major decision I had to make while doing it. Another is using italics for the character of Oz, the boy man. The original has there are no italics or no even dialogue dashes to set aside Oz's character, and there's this wonderful element with Oz is in that the hermit, of course, is hearing him speak, even though he doesn't speak, or is this all in the hermit's head? And I think there's a question that readers can ask about that. And I like that element, but at the same time, I felt in this one instance that those needed to be in italics, everything that Oz said, just to add a little clarity. In terms of some of the challenges I faced while translating the book, the chief among them is you can hear in my voice. As an American translating a book for a British publisher, I tried to do as much as possible in terms of making it sound like British, but without the exception of the crime shows that I watch, and I deliberately watched while translating this so that I could pick up some of the terms. That presents its challenges because I don't have the UK lingo down, And so that was a challenge, in particular with this book. Another challenge is simply the number of words. I think any translator would agree that when you're working on a deadline, obviously the bigger books, there are more words, and so it takes longer. And that was another consideration. Though in this case too, there's a lot of dialogue in the book, and I tend to really like dialogue. I enjoy playing with dialogue, and that is made it a little easier, I suppose. But that's really what I want to say. I noticed this is about 6 minutes now, and I didn't want to take too much of your time here tonight. I do appreciate the opportunity to speak. I look forward to seeing how this book does. It seems to be doing well in terms of reviews, and I'm pleased at that. I feel that in terms of capturing the voice, I personally believe that the voice in this novel in English is quite similar to what it is in Danish, and I think I do a nice job of capturing that. And I'm actually happy, very happy with how this turned out. So I'll leave it at that. Thank you again for letting me be here, and I hope you found this mildly interesting. So thank you again, and have a wonderful evening, and wonderful evening.